It's the Machine of Nonsense, episode 99. Somebody scream. Yeah, that was terrifying. We're doing our Scream episode. I've teased it on several episodes. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by Kayla.
Hey, hey.
And the master of horror himself,
Oh,
Aaron's
yeah.
on the pod.
I'm here. Yeah.
He was the blood-curdling scream you heard earlier.
Yeah.
We are doing our Scream retrospective. There's not an anniversary or anything. I think Scream is 26 years old or something at this point. We probably should have done this last year. But it's spooky season. This is another one of our Massacre of Nonsense episodes where we go hard in all things spooky, and I think Scream's worthy of having a conversation. Before we get to that, we got some news in some other horror properties, quite a bit recently. Resident Evil and Silent Hill are getting some new stuff. We got a new, pretty in-depth trailer for Resident Evil 4 Remake, a game that Mike couldn't make the pod, but he is... it's his favorite game of all time, Resident Evil 4, or one of them at least. It's a game that I personally feel is a little overrated, could use a update, and the update looks fantastic. The remake, I think it looks really, really cool. You said you checked this trailer out, Aaron. What did you think of this?
I actually did not see this trailer. I said I saw the Silent Hill trailer. But,
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Because I listened in the pre-show.
I actually...
Did you see it before, though?
No. I've been reading stuff about it happening. I just haven't watched the trailer. I'm excited for it to happen. I mean, I always liked the game. I think I think I've said in previous podcasts, I think the story's a little... They've got the president's daughter. Like, okay, cool. You can't go up from there. They got the president's daughter. But I don't know. I think with some improvements to the controls, I think I would like it a lot. It's not exactly a scary game, so I can play it. I think that's when they started to tip the scales towards action more than survival horror. So,
yeah, without a doubt, that fourth one gets very actiony, especially I don't know, maybe midway through, and the back third is just a straight up action game. I mean, you got zombies shooting at you and stuff.
right.
Sorry, Las Plagas shooting at you and stuff. But what did you think of the trailers we saw, Kayla?
The Resident Evil 4 trailer does look really good. It seems so much more open, and you can when you're in a house, you can actually see stuff. So I'm excited to see the world better. It's not as dark and questionable. But it is still, of course, the mood is there. The thing that I'll pick on with the trailer is they show him its gameplay that they're showing. I guess maybe this isn't the trailer, the gameplay part. And there was always a prompt to do a dodge, but he never did it. So I don't know what the dodge looks like. I mean, I do, but it happened several times. Speaking of it being an action game, it is. I just wanted to see that. He did the big full roundhouse kick. We saw that. Full body flips. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think that's a good call because I noticed two things mechanically that they show in the gameplay that one lends itself to the action aspect of it. You mentioned the dodge. It seems like you get a lot of prompts to maybe use your knife to defend yourself, in a quick time event type situation, a dodge, but also they show scenes of crouching and evading enemies and stuff like that, which I don't think was a huge part, if I remember correctly, in the original. I mean, really, you just kind of went in guns blazing for the most part in that original game. So on one hand, the crouching and evading enemies could lend itself to some, horror aspects and feeling underpowered. And then if Leon's got a bunch of different tricks that he can do with his knife and dodging and stuff that he didn't have in the first one, it kind of lends itself on the other hand to the action. So
Jumping off roofs.
Yeah,
Jumping
definitely.
off roofs. It was
Yeah.
intense.
That's
Yeah,
jump off hoops.
it's pretty great. Like, you should check out. It's about 8 minutes of gameplay,
Oh,
6 to
wow.
8 minutes. It's mostly that first kind of village area in Resident Evil 4 with like Chainsaw Man and all of that.
Yeah.
It's both very similar to the original, but also you can just tell they're really like taking a lot of liberties with like where Leon's going, kind of what the chainsaw guy is doing in the scene, and then Leon's abilities and actions and stuff during it. It's pretty cool. It seems like a paying homage to that game. I think people like who really love that opening scene, like kind of are gonna demand that. Oh yeah, you do that right. Like you have to make that scene right. But people like me who think like, I don't know, I didn't really like how that game controlled and stuff. Like, I want to see it all improved, and it looked like it from the little slice that they showed.
Yeah. The biggest reason I never actually like I've played I think like halfway through. I don't remember. It's been a while. I think the biggest reason I ever like continue and why I don't love it is the controls feel very like not intuitive to me. Like I always feel like I'm gonna run here and I go in the wrong direction, or which is fine. That's kind of always been Resident Evil's thing.
Right.
Also, Dino Crisis, if you played that, you have a very similar control scheme. But it just, I don't know, it takes me out of the game if I have to consciously think like, well, I need to do this on the controller versus just doing it without thinking. So I think if that's an update in this, that'd be pretty great.
Yeah, I'm sure they learned a lot from like Resident Evil 2 Remake. I mean, that game's fantastic. It feels really good compared to any of the older ones. And 4 was already like the best at that point. Like 1 through 3 are tough games to go back and play the originals of those. 4 is a little easier, but I still, for people who say like, oh, it didn't need a remake, like it's great. It's like a modern game. I don't know. I beg to differ. I think it did. I think it deserves it. I think it's a game that deserves like some love, and it looks like they're doing some good things.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of released on the cusp of like the older style games and the way the newer games are done. Especially setting the difference between Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 5. So I don't know, maybe it'll benefit from some better controls. I think if it was just an update, just a graphics update, for that it would just be kind of a cash grab for that kind of game. But so I hope they updated a lot of the controls and all that.
Definitely seems like it.
Yeah.
We're also getting another remake. We're getting a lot from Silent Hill after being silent for a long time. We're getting Silent Hill 2 Remake, but we're not just getting Silent Hill 2 Remake. We are getting a new Silent Hill movie called Return to Silent Hill by the original director of the first Silent Hill movie, which I think is like a pretty decent, like, in the realm of video game adaptation movies, you know, which is a kind of a low bar. I think that Silent Hill movie is pretty all right.
For its time, for sure. I
think it's a good video game movie. I don't think it's a good horror movie. I don't know. Like if I had never heard of Silent Hill and then I watched that movie, I'd be like, wow, they're expecting me to know a lot of stuff they're not explaining. And that's the problem with any video game movie because the lore is so big and you find stuff, but it's just, you know, as long as they've got the main character, which is the fog, the movies kind of make sense. But I mean, like I hope they go, like, I think when they make a video game movie, it should be able to stand alone. It shouldn't be only for fans of the video game, so they can point to their friends and be like, oh, this happened in the game. Like, and I feel like Silent Hill was a lot of that. Like,
there was a lot of fan service. I mean, like they made it like an amalgam of like the first 2 games, changed around like characters and stuff. They did a lot of the same things that like the first Resident Evil movie did. But I kind of liked that movie too for like, it's
movie. It's
an action movie.
Game adaptation.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think I think a new Silent Hill movie could be all right. I'm less interested in that than like they announced 4 games in total. So it's Silent Hill 2 Remake, which is real interesting. They kind of showed a pretty long form trailer, a lot of scenes on that one. But also Silent Hill Ascension, Silent Hill Townfall, and Silent Hill F. Ascension and Townfall. So Ascension is some kind of shared experience type game.
Okay.
Multiplayer, maybe.
Some kind of weird, like,
Well, like a Quarry-esque kind of.
I think that's what they're going for, Quarry-esque type game.
I'd play that actually. So
yeah, they definitely go.
I'd play that too, but that's not what I got out of that.
Well, there's a description online of like what it is. So yeah,
okay.
I think it's Quarry, but meant to be played like live or whatever, like over like like maybe for streaming type of situation.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I get out of the description.
Well, even Quarry's got a streamers like option, which is pretty crazy. They're like, some hipsters are gonna love this game. Let's
Right, exactly. And then Townfall was kind of interesting. It was just like a voiceover with a little remote
Black Sand Beach.
Yeah. Looks interesting. I have no idea what it is necessarily, but it just set a tone in the trailer. And Silent Hill F was probably the most interesting out of the 4. It's set in 1960s Japan, which all the Silent Hill games have been set in, the U.S. The Silent Hill is supposed to be like a middle America kind of town or whatever. But heavy like Midsommar vibes in that one. There were a lot of flowers and and also like a fungus kind of situation as well. Very colorful. You kind of track a young girl who's kind of seems to be kind of running away from this fungal type growth, but very, very colorful, very vibrant. And another just like tone piece, another like just like really hit on the tone of what I consider like Silent Hills kind of thing, just like that psychological horror kind of grotesque stuff. We watched all of these this morning, Kayla. What did any of them stand out more than another, or anything really catch your eye?
Even before I watched the trailers, I seen stills, and Silent Hill F was definitely like a most intriguing visuals. So I would say that one.
Yeah.
The other ones are very confusing. I don't really understand what they are. There's nothing really given to me.
Right. Yeah. Definitely not showing much. What's your like relationship with Silent Hill 2, Aaron? I don't know if have you ever checked that one out, or?
I think I played a little bit of it. Like I said, I can't play scary games, so I've tried a lot. I don't usually get past half an hour of any of them.
That is the same for me. I watch.
So, like I could always do Resident Evil because I don't find zombies scary, I guess. And also Resident Evil isn't scary. Like the first one has jump scares, like in the first little bit, like when you're in the mansion and something jumps through a window at you and things like that. But it's not like scary. Like Nemesis isn't actually scary. He's just a monster. So like I can always play Resident Evil, but Silent Hill, it's like I said, it's a lot of fog. It's a lot of like little things. It's always creepy. So I've played a little bit of 2. Oh man, growing up, I played a little bit of 2. The one I played the most was probably 4, The Room.
I like that one.
Which actually I think would make a really good movie, because I thought just the one part of you're in this where everything's going wrong, you look out the window and life is normal, that's just terrifying. So, yeah, so I guess that's my extent. I've never really been a huge Silent Hill fan, so I always was like excited for the movie, and then I watched it like I don't like this. So.
I think The Room is like criminally underrated. I think no one talks about it. Everyone loves Silent Hill 2. Some people like Silent Hill 1. I don't know that anyone talks about Silent Hill 3 much, but like I I think Silent Hill: The Room, Silent Hill 4 is pretty good. But Silent Hill 2 is kind of the one that everyone really likes. I think that's why it's getting the remake.
I guess I have little experience with Silent Hill because I don't think I even knew there was a 3 and 4. I was like, I've seen 1 and 2. I've seen the movies. I know a little bit. Apparently
that's
not.
The thing, like the movies, like the first movie is kind of a combination of the first 2 games, and then the second movie is kind of the third game, more or less, like parts of it or whatever else. But yeah, those games, I mean, they're kind of like esoteric. I mean, they're like you hear about them a lot, but they're kind of hard to play. They're kind of hard to play from a mechanical standpoint, but they're kind of hard to play because they're like locked on older systems and stuff like that.
Right.
I think they're available on like PS3 or something. You got to like have a PS3 to play like they did like an HD remaster of the first 2 or something like that, and like the third one might be available on that. And like, yeah, they're just locked to older consoles and stuff. So they've got a lot of reverence in the like industry, but like I think you ask a lot of people and they're like, yeah, I know Silent Hill and yeah, it looks creepy or whatever. I know the nurses and Pyramid Head, but like I never checked them out, you know, like I've played them all. I'm one of those freaks, and enjoyed that. I love the atmosphere. That's the thing that, like, I think Silent Hill has always done. I think you hit it on the head, Aaron. Like, I like Resident Evil, but those are always been, even like the older ones, have always been more actiony, less scary. And Silent Hill has always just been like atmosphere, kind of that fog, creepier monsters, in my opinion. And then like the themes and shit of like just sexual violence and suicide and just a lot of really heavy like dark themes like really are terrifying. So like yeah, I think that's what I've always come to from Silent Hill. But.
Yeah. I'm wondering if they don't do more with The Room because it's basically just like a video game version of 1408.
It is. That's funny. I've never thought of it that way, but it is pretty much like that.
But I mean, I think I played The Room before I saw 1408. I've never read 1408, so I don't know.
Oh, interesting. I thought you've read every Stephen King.
He's got too many.
Yeah. I just thought you read like 500 books.
I read the first, I probably have, but I read the first Dark Tower, and it's so boring.
No. So it's just like the movie, I guess? I don't know. I've never seen it.
I didn't watch the movie.
No one else did. Do we want to get into some Scream talk?
All right.
Let's talk some Scream. I like breaking the ice on these type of episodes. It's I don't know why I said ice. There's no broken ice. Let's play some trivia. Let's do it. Let's play some Scream trivia. I'm not keeping score. They're just fun questions I looked up. We got 7 of them. I want to test your guys' knowledge. Do you guys know what the working title was for the first Scream movie?
You told me. I don't remember.
I did. I just read this yesterday.
It's pretty funny.
Not Stab.
It's not Stab.
It's not Stab, but it would have been funny.
Yeah, because I know what's his name, Williams, who wrote the movies. He picked the title, and it wasn't a good title.
Kevin Williams. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's crazy. Also, when you watch them, you can tell which ones he wrote. But
I agree.
No, I can't remember what the title was.
Mm-hmm. Tell us.
Scary Movie was
yes,
the
this was
title.
it.
Yeah, and then Scary Movie obviously parodied the Scream films really hard after their runaway success. The Scream movies have made over $700 million worldwide. They are the 6th highest grossing franchise in history of horror movies. And with only 5 movies,
I was thinking that same thing.
Yeah, you look at Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th,
Halloween. Yeah,
a lot of those I have outgrossed them, but only because they have like 20 entries in those like franchises and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that, so
I wonder where they were before this new Scream movie? Like, if they were still sixth, or
This new one grossed, I think I have it here, about 80 million domestically, and then maybe like over 100 internationally. So they were still pushing over $500 million, or like $550 million or something previous to this very successful fifth entry. So just a really, really successful franchise. And once we get into our like talk, I would say one of the more consistent franchises. That's one of the takeaways I've had in rewatching all of them. What month did the first Scream and actually the second Scream movie come out?
February.
I don't know.
Not
November.
October, which all games should come out. Or all scary movies should come out.
I agree, because there's a bunch coming out like this upcoming January and February, and it's weird. I want to watch them now.
I like summer scary movies. I like winter scary movies.
I can see that, yeah. But
I think summer's fine because I want to see, like, I love summer blockbusters, and I think a horror movie can fit in that. But if you're not going to come out in like July 10th or something, or the 4th of July weekend, like, come on, October. Come on.
That's why I know what you did last summer, right? They came out during the summer because it's all about you can kill someone on the 4th of July and get away with it. Like, that's the weirdest premise for a scary movie. Like, nobody can solve a crime committed on the 4th of July, but, whatever.
It's true. It's true. December. I don't think I actually gave you guys the answer.
I didn't. I was guessing November.
Scream came out in December, and actually the second Scream movie came out less than one calendar year from... Scream 1 came out like December 20th, and the Scream 2 came out like December 15th or something, the next year in 97. I was for Scream 1.
I was reading that when he wrote the original one, he wrote a plot outline for a sequel. So when he sold it to them, he sold it like, hey, we can do this, and then it can also be a franchise right away. Even though, weirdly, he didn't write the second one. Right, he wrote 1, 3, and 4. But
there's an interesting about 3. I've got an interesting tidbit about Scream 3, and it went through some rewrites and stuff like that. Have you looked into any of that?
I haven't, but you can tell like that would sort of happen. I was talking to my wife about it, and I said like one of the hallmarks of at least the first 3 Scream movies is that whenever you watch a horror movie or a whodunit, whoever the second biggest actor in the movie is did it. But then, like, what if you just fill it with absolutely just famous people, and every single one of them's a red herring? And then throughout the third one, it's like they have for whatever reason they have the flashback video of Randy saying, "Oh, if there's tons of history, then all the rules go out the window," that kind of stuff, and like. So, like, it's everybody who's got history, and they throw his sister in there as a red herring, and because, she brings that tape and then sits there glaring at Sydney while she watches it. You're like, oh, yeah, she definitely did it. So I feel like they put, like, 10 people in there that could have done it, and then we're like, okay, guess at the end. So I can see where they rewrote it a bunch.
Yeah, so the reason they rewrote Scream 3, I guess, I don't know how early in the production or whatever else this was, but... Matthew Lillard has come out and said, like, I was actually going to be in Scream 3, that he survived, but was, like, severely, because at the end of Scream 1, sorry, spoilers for a 1996 movie, but Matthew Lillard is one of the killers in Scream 1. He gets a TV dropped on his head, but the plot was going to be he was, like, severely disfigured and in prison for the murders, but he was staging... like somehow through like pirate radio or something, or like letters to like kids in high school to do like copycat murders of the Scream, and that was happening right at the same time of like Columbine had just happened, like while they were writing this movie. So they had to like go back to the drawing board. The studio was not gonna touch a bunch of kids like committing murders in high school. But that was gonna be Scream 3.
I just love the plot of Matthew Lillard selling these letters from jail to random high schoolers. Like, hey, do you hate math? Like, you know what you should do about it?
It probably would have been something like that, honestly. That character's so fun. His Stu Macher in the first one.
He is. I can see where it would never have. It would have worked in like crazy horror movie sequel world because anything can happen. But like, he was never even meant to be like a main. Like, he had no motive beyond being a weirdo. So like,
the manipulated, easy to.
Right. Everything in the following movies is all related to Sydney or Billy Loomis. So
I read the first one as like Stu's in love with Billy. Like, I think Stu is in love with Billy Loomis.
Right, which is like that kind of gets repeated a lot from like the true case of Leopold and Loeb to like which then the movie that they had, which was like, what was it called, Hang or something like that. Or it's called Rope, I believe. And then there's also like what's that one movie with Sandra Bullock, like Murder, is that Murder by Numbers?
Murder by Numbers, yeah.
Where like the guy is like sort of infatuated with was that Ryan Gosling in that one?
Ryan Phillippe?
No, it's not.
Right?
Ryan Phillippe. No, it's not Ryan Phillippe.
No? I thought he was in Murder by Numbers.
I think Ryan Phillippe was even at that point a little old to be playing a high schooler.
That baby face.
The baby face and Justin Timberlake hair. But even in that, like, it's at first you think the smart kid's the one pulling the strings, but then when he gets overwhelmed, the other guy's like holding him by the face, like really like sweetly to convince him to continue on with these murders.
It is Ryan Gosling, by the way. You're right. Yeah.
Maybe Ryan Gosling can convince me to murder someone. I don't know. I mean, he's never held my face. Yeah. So like I think it's something that gets echoed in scary movies. So I can see where if they went more in that direction. The only thing is Billy Loomis is like not charismatic at all. I don't think. He's just kind of a weirdo.
Yeah. Creepy.
Like, he just looks like a creepy weirdo the whole time. Like, he never not seems like a creepy weirdo. That's why, like, that's on purpose. They wanted you to think he did it, and then they wanted you to think he was dead, and then he did it. Like, but he needed stew, and it's yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Question number 3, guys. More men or more women die in the Scream quadrilogy? What? No, quintology, I guess, would be 5. Do you think more women or more men?
More.
I think if we're just counting all the cameramen, I'm gonna say men.
It's actually men. About 10 more dudes get killed.
10 more?
Yeah.
Thought you were leading me astray. Like, it's a weird question to ask, so it must be wanting me to answer the wrong, or the men, the unlikely one.
Yeah, I was surprised just because, like, you think of a slasher, it's always like, oh, it's, some dude mostly, like, terrorizing young women, like...
Yeah, I went off
it definitely happens in Scream.
In the beginnings, yeah, I'm like, it's always a young woman in the beginning, so I'm gonna say women.
Right.
So it's also all about getting to Sydney Prescott. So, like, in the beginning, it's about killing people to draw her out, but towards the end, it's just killing everyone, protecting her.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Poor Jerry O'Connell.
Oh, man. Gone too soon. How many did Wes Craven show up in? How many of the Screams?
All of them.
4.
All but 5. Yeah, 4. The first 4. He wasn't around for number 5. There was a tribute for him in the 5th one, like the big 4 Wes banner and stuff.
Yeah. Well, he directed, and that's the biggest difference I feel between them to 5 is the Wes Craven influence, because it became less about irony and poking fun at cliches. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think you can tell. I think even some of like the camera work is interesting. I'll get into some of my takeaways, especially from the first one in a sec. But like, I think the first one especially has some really interesting camera work that I didn't notice until like rewatching it. Really like that. So still on that the kill train. So we know more men died. What's the total body count for Ghostface in the 5 movies? How many total kills did Ghostface account for?
Just in the films?
On screen in the films.
I just watched these. I think if I take long enough, I could figure it out. But Does
Name them all, Aaron. Name them off right now.
57.
God, I don't know. I'm gonna go 45.
Aaron is slightly closer. You're both high. 37. Only 37 kills by Ghostface.
Yeah.
So that's 5 kills in Scream 1, 8 in Scream 2, 9 in Scream 3, 9 in Scream 4, and 6 in Scream 5. I guess I kind of ate my sixth question as I went down that list. I had which film had the highest total body count. It's Scream 4 with 11 because we have the 2 killers dying as well as 9 kills racked up in that. So Scream 4 had the highest body count. Last question. How many individuals have portrayed Ghostface during the 5 films?
Like, so how many of them turn out like, cause like, let's say number 4, it was played by one guy. It wasn't really them in the costume.
Right. No, I mean the character, I guess.
Okay. Because it was like a guy playing it. It wasn't like that girl in there. Which always to me seems weird. It's like I've been Ghostface this whole time. It's like, but you're not like 6'2". Like he has been this whole time.
Yeah, even in my research, I saw like Stu and Billy, Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard. They like each wore the costume like during like one scene in the first. Like they barely wore it at all.
That's what when I tried rewatching it before I found that out that they weren't the ones who did it, because obviously you need a stunt person to do it because all the weird shit he does. I'm like, there's a big height difference between Stu and Billy. So I'm like, which one is this? But it all just looks like a tall person. Like maybe not as tall as Matthew Lillard, but a tall person. So, let's see, 2. Is that counting Sydney?
No, just the killer.
Because in the first one, Sydney puts the costume on.
Yeah, I got a little tidbit about that one too, actually. When she comes out of the closet and like stabs Billy with an umbrella during that scene. He had heart surgery early in his life, like as a child, and had like scar tissue. He normally, for that scene, he wore like a protective like vest or something so that like it wouldn't hit his scar. It had like moved over during the filming or whatever else, and she hit his scar, so his reaction, like his pained reaction stuff, was like actual pain, and Wes Craven just like kept it in the film because it looked a lot better than the like fake pain when he was like taking it to a vest. So it was kind of interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's just leave a little bit of the stuffing out right here, guys. Right. He'll never know it was us.
Right. Why is this hole of this vest right over where? Don't worry about it, man. You put an X over it for her to hit the mark.
So there were 9 ghost faces.
Yeah, I would have said 10, but
because there were 2 in each. I would have said 9, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then Roman.
Only Roman in the third one. Sean
from Scrubs.
I didn't know that guy was in anything else. Like he didn't look familiar.
He's one of those people who's in a lot of TV shows for like a season. You know how they seem to have him on rotation, especially for shows like ER, where they do 6 episodes and then they're off the show. He I don't know if you watch Scrubs, but he dates Elliot for a season. God. He's like a marine biologist who's really like goofy. He's funny.
I think every episode of Scrubs I've ever watched, you were in the room, Aaron. I think I've watched Scrubs with you every time I've ever watched Scrubs. I enjoy it. I like it.
Yeah, it's a good show. It's a good show. That one was the one with all the red herrings. I swear. Like going into it without watching it, you would guess that Randy's sister did it. The film executive, and so they were trying to convince you her mom was still alive. Cotton Weary, I guess Cotton Weary, you can tell in the beginning, didn't actually do it. But I was happy he died. He sucked. I wish Gale Weathers died in the first one. She is the worst character in all of the movies. She's worse than all the ghost faces. She is the worst.
It's supposed to, in my research, it's supposed to be like she's supposed to be playing it up because like literally she like went for the role in Scream 1, and at that time she was really blowing up on Friends. And she's kind of like a super like nice person on Friends for the most part. And they literally weren't going to give her the job because they didn't feel like she could play this asshole. Like she's just an asshole, really, you know.
Mhm.
And she said like, okay, well I'll just play it up, and then that has kind of become her persona throughout the movie. So it's kind of an act the whole time. So I guess it's effective because you really hate her.
It's the worst. Like, and then when you watch Scream 5, it's all about, oh my god, she and Sydney are back. Like yeah, Sydney's cool. I like Dewey enough, but I hate Gale Weathers. She's the worst character on that whole. Like, she's insufferable, especially in 4 when she's married to a cop trying to solve a murder. She's like, what? You won't let me in the murder room to help with the investigation? Like, what the fuck? You're the worst person in the world. Why would they let you in? I don't. Yeah, she's just the like it's like what everybody in the 90s thought investigative journalism was about, and they're like, yeah, it's her. They're really pushy and shitty, and they break laws, and they don't care about ethics, and here they are. But
She's Nightcrawler before Nightcrawler, you know?
yeah, basically, except for he's less shitty than she.
So Kayla, I really wanted to pick your brain because this is kind of your first watch through, and I think it's really cool. Something as iconic as Scream. I was just thinking about it this morning. Like, it's kind of like me and Harry Potter, where I like came and watched those movies way late, like way post hype, way like just recently. I mean, what was that, like 5 years ago when we sat and like watched all the Harry Potter movies?
More than like probably.
I had seen like the first one when it came out, and I saw like the fourth one. I took my little sister to see it. But other than that, I had never seen any of these like Harry Potter movies, which were like super popular and, you know, super important and everything to people. And I felt it was an interesting like thing to come to those. And I feel like that's a little bit maybe Scream for you, where like you probably knew exactly like what Scream was or had like preconceived notions of what Scream was, but then seeing it for the first time, like, how have your opinions changed? What did you think about that, like, from that perspective?
It's so meta. I don't think I really knew any of that was part of it. Like, I just thought there were slasher films, and they're like really like weirdly ironic, poking at themselves. Like, sometimes I have to ask myself, like, are they doing that on purpose?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really interesting whole thing about Scream that I didn't know was a thing.
Yeah. What did you have a favorite, like, that now that we've seen them all, and did you have a favorite?
One.
Absolutely. How would you rank the other ones? Like, would you put them in order from favorite to least favorite?
As you were talking about it, I had to pull them up because I'm like, just to at least see like the image of like who's in that one, because we just watched them all like straight. So I'm like, wait, which one is which? What? I don't think I liked 3 very much. I could do without Harvey Weinstein's like life story involved.
Well, that is weird with like the fact that they rewrote 3 and stuff. Now knowing that, because when we watched 3, we're watching it. I mentioned on a previous episode of the pod, but like it's basically just the Harvey, like the main subplot is Harvey Weinstein. It's like, oh, shitty like producer. Her
line is literally like, I didn't sleep with that guy to die here.
Right, yeah. So it's all of that, like, and it's like knowing it in a series that is super meta and everything. Like, it was weird. It was weird on a rewatch to say like, oh, okay, so Harvey Weinstein, who probably had like final cut on this, like, or had like decision making, went from, oh, we can't show Columbine, but go ahead and put like this rapey producer in this movie.
You guys need a story?
Wild.
I got something for you. It was him. He was, I don't know. I could do without any of that. He
gets his throat slit, you know, at the end. So.
And
so weird.
it seems like such a shift from like 1 and 2 to 3. Just like the whole setting and everything was just different to me. 5, when I first watched 5, I thought I really liked it, but I think looking back, I like it less. It did seem like, and again, it had another big shift of like, oh yes, this is a modern, this is now today's world, instead of looking back and being like, man, this shit is so 90s. Just everything that they do feels very retro until 5.
Right.
Did you have a definitive ranking in your mind, Aaron?
Well, the first one is my favorite one, obviously. Like, with that, it's more than just like, oh, the original's the best. I think it's just all the subsequent ones. They all are just trying to be this huge love letter to the original story, even in a meta way. Like, oh, this is all about, like, even in 4, where he's like old school Stu and Billy, and then he's like overlooking the fact that Billy stabs him too deeply on purpose so that Stu dies. So I think the first one's the best one. After that, it's probably, I don't know. Probably, I actually really like 3, but I think it's probably like 1, 2, 5, 3, 4 for me. I thought 4 was not good. I think it could have been good. I think they dated themselves way too much because they're using technology that was old for 2011 when it came out in 2011, just because they wanted that camera to be big and visible. Also, when she's like putting those cameras up, and they're these big ass like cameras that are clearly on a hinge and should be attached to like a cable. And she's just like, I'm gonna stick this here on top of this hay, and it's gonna record everything, and it's gonna transmit in real time to my car. Like, okay, lady, like that's like it's one thing for 3 to try to make it sound like a voice changer can perfectly copy anybody's voice, and that's a bit of a jump. Well, more than a bit, but it's still a jump. But you can take it, whatever. But like all the technology stuff in 4 is really dated and bad, and which sucks because the acting done specifically by, I forget the actress's name, the one who played Jill, the killer, and MaKulkins' brother,
Rory, yeah,
was really good. They kind of, in that movie, they're like, we're gonna pick the person you most suspect and the person you least suspect and make them the killers, which, that's kind of spot on for Scream. This is the only one where they didn't flood it with these famous faces. So, I guess in 5. But
4, pretty famous. I mean, you couldn't remember her name, but that's Emma Roberts and Hayden Panettiere, right?
Right, but the Hayden Panettiere was never like, I don't think she was ever framed as a suspect. Like
I got you.
You would never suspect her. Like we're going to like where it's not like, oh, who can you suspect? You can think it's Randy, who's Jamie Kennedy, Timothy Olyphant, Jerry O'Connell, like where they just shove as many of these famous people in because you're not gonna be able to guess who's the most famous and they're the killer. And then what they do in 3 where they no, it's not 3, it's 4. Well, they still sort of did it, I guess, with Grey's Anatomy and his creepy partner.
Well, that's right, Patrick Dempsey. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with him, and then they tried so hard to make red herrings in it that they left plot holes. Like, why on fucking earth did he have a folder of newspaper clippings with a bunch of highlighted shit? Like, so he wasn't the killer, but he's just a huge fucking creep. Like, they
all are. Everybody in Scream's a fucking creep.
Right. Because they want you to believe they're the killer. Like, also, I think there's such. They even in a very meta way in 3 say like, oh, they're still pissed that we killed off Randy in the second one because fans were mad because he actually was. I hated that they killed him off. Yeah. And people really wanted him to be the killer. He seemed like the killer. So what do? They made a teenage version of him in Culkin Jr. and they basically posthumously made Randy a killer.
Yep.
They even joked about it in the 3rd one when he says, I'm not a Randy clone. It's like, no, you just work at a movie store. Your name's like Ricky. And this guy is Randy.
Are just all that. I don't even know how to describe it. They just constantly are layering on meta shit. It's just
Yeah. And I love that in the fourth one, they said meta, she says, whata? Like,
is this where it was created? I mean, I feel like meta is a new term to me, and now I see in 1997, I don't remember which one they first named it in, but they even say it.
That's why the movies were made, was to poke fun at slashers, and the cliches.
They're the best.
But that's why, like, in this newest one, it wasn't. That's why I guess that's back with 5. It wasn't that. I think they wanted it to be. They didn't have the direction of Wes Craven, who has that sense of humor. Even like him willing to poke fun at his own performances as like Freddy Krueger and all of that. You can see that, especially in the first one, because you get Freddy Krueger vibes even from the principal in the first one. I think they poke fun at all that kind of stuff, but they don't have him for this new one, and they're trying really hard to sell Scream to a newer generation.
What if we just make it happen at the same house?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I feel like 5 is. I would probably say 5's my like second favorite after my 1 is my favorite. Like 5 feels like a modern horror movie or a modern slasher set in the Scream universe. Like that's kind of how I like. They said like, okay, what's a cool like IP that we can use? Oh, Scream. And let's kind of take away some or not use all of the elements as much as like 1 through 4 definitely go into that. Like everything's meta. It has to be like first we're going to make fun of slasher movies in the first like 2 movies are making fun of slasher movies. Then 3 and 4 are kind of making fun of Scream movies or like, you know, kind of doing that. And then 5 is like, let's kind of put that off to the side, but make a modern and in my opinion, pretty good like slasher movie. But it's just set like with this Scream like set dressing, kind of like the characters and everything else. And like for me, it was effective enough. Like I kind of dig it in that sense. Even though it's missing the Scream of it all.
And were they kind of the scariest killers of all too? Like they literally had nothing except for like, yeah, we met on a chat on an AOL chat group.
From the very beginning of 5, I guess like it was those 2 though.
Oh really?
Yeah, but like in Scream 1, that's like what Billy's whole thing is, when technically he does have some deep dark reason, which, you know, I would have been more scared if it was just some super random for the joy of killing and hunting and torturing prey of humans that I sleep with. Is way scarier, and it's kind of what it actually was in 5.
Yeah, I've always found that scarier too, like no motive, kind of like that is kind of interesting, like The Strangers or something else like that. Like that's one of the cooler kind of you were home, you know. That's I like that. But,
yeah, and I'm just batshit fucking crazy.
Yeah, I kind of dig those kind of plot lines. I think the Dewey murder also is like one of the just better kind of kills in a Scream movie. I was looking up lists of like, oh, our favorite kills or whatever in the franchise and stuff, and that one wasn't as high as I thought it should be. I thought that was like super brutal, like to kill like a guy who's been in all 5 movies or an important dude who's like survived. He says it in the movie or something. I've been stabbed like 9 times or something, and to just like fucking rip his guts out basically. Like that was
he gets stabbed in like every one of the movies.
Yeah.
Well, I like how in the second one he's got such bad nerve damage that he's like crippled and like walking around with his little hand not working, and then but like. In 4, he's right back to just taking shots at people in crowded barns, and
people do get better.
I don't know.
Physical therapy exists.
That's actually how they explain it in the script. Severed. Yeah, in the script, it actually it doesn't come into play at all in the movie because they don't explain it whatsoever. But there's a scene where he gets up and it's like his inner monologue or whatever is like, oh, you can barely notice the limp, years of physical therapy. Like that's literally like it in the script, but like they don't touch on it at all. Like he goes from like being severely disabled in the like second one to super cop, you know.
Right, like he's shooting his gun with his strong hand in that. But so I think they kind of had to kill him in this one. Like they couldn't just stab him again and have him be okay. I think he had to die.
I was a big fan. I just thought like it was. I didn't think he'd die, and then also for them to like that was really cool. Like the knife in the stomach, the knife in the back, and then just fucking like I think he like pulled the knife upward from there, and there was just like a gush of blood on the ground and stuff. It was like, man, he's dead. He's not going back from this one. I was like, okay, all right.
That's sort of what I thought in the third one, though, where like he got stabbed like 9 times in the back, his head's being smashed. And also, how soundproof was that room? As I'm watching it, like he's smacking the window. Like it's not like the windows are in like nothing can happen if you hit them. He's like smacking this window. She's like, what? And then he turns on the microphone mid dying. Hey, I'm being stabbed.
His famous line, "Hey, I'm being stabbed." One of my favorite, most iconic Scream lines.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's one of those characters they didn't expect to be such a main thing throughout the series, so they had to retcon him being crippled. If they wanted him to still be a cop. But and then like I wish my only wish for the whole movie, I wish they didn't kill Brandy in the second one. I think maybe kill him later, but I think he was too good. He was too central. That's why they had to make a video of him for the third one.
They'll just keep finding more tapes. Like he'll just.
So if this happens again, all right, this is what happens when there's 5 movies down the line. Well, they've got a 6th one coming out, right? Maybe they'll do The Wrath of Randy.
And I think Neve Campbell is not going to be in it. I think she had like a contract dispute or something.
They, even though she basically is Scream, they would not pay her.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even listen to paying her more, which is insane. Like, I get when's the last time Neve Campbell was relevant? Like outside of Scream, like nobody's watching movies for Neve Campbell. But like she kind of is the movie. Like she's in all of them, and then they're gonna be like, oh well. We'll make it without you.
Yeah, that's just silly. Especially because those movies, like if you look at, like I mentioned early on that like this is a highly successful like money making franchise and everything else, and it's also one of like the more profitable ones too because like their budgets are pretty small. Even this newest one, I think the budget was like $40 million or something, which is like for a big like studio release, big time movie with like actors in it, you know, like and a lot of buzz behind it, a lot of marketing behind it. Like that's nothing. Like $40 million.
The budget was $24 million.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh,
yes,
yeah. Like
for Scream 5.
That's ridiculous. Like that's nothing, especially in it like in a poor theatrical market. It still made like 80 million domestically. You know, like. So
yeah, that's a win.
Pay Neve Campbell. Come on.
How do they even pay everybody in that movie? Like, how do you pay like Jack Quaid and Courtney Cox to be in a movie with only $24 million?
Maybe some residuals or something.
Those are the only ones who got paid, I think.
Neve Campbell was like, okay, so you're not going to pay me for 5, but you'll pay me for 6, right? And they're like, yeah, sure. Movie wrapped, and they're like, so 6, we're going to not pay you for that one also.
Right. Just do it for the exposure. Nobody knows who Neve Campbell is. You know?
Right. Gen Z.
You've got a weird first name.
I mean, I don't know that Jack Quaid's an expensive person, especially
The Boys, man.
It's that movie was like filmed right in the middle of him being popular on The Boys, right? Like so.
I mean, yeah, but the Boys is good, but it's also a Prime show. Like
I guess
I don't know anybody besides you and our group, our 5 people. I don't know anybody else who's watched The Boys.
I guess that's true. I guess I'm kind of in a bubble. I assume he gets paid more, but and from what I understand, like what Neve Campbell was asking for wasn't even a lot. It was just more, like commensurate with the fact that the series may not have done so well without her.
No, so, I mean, especially early on, yeah, she was like the hotness, like she was sure, her career has kind of gone down from her, super popular days or whatever else, but like she kind of, her and Drew Barrymore, I mean, like that was the big switch up in that first one, but still, like 2, 3, and even arguably 4, like those are still Neve Campbell like movies. You went to see those movies for Neve Campbell. She became a scream queen because of those.
Love that they got in the Stab one. She's played by Tori Spelling, who's playing a high schooler. Tori Spelling, and then Luke Wilson is Billy.
The best part is she makes a joke in the previous movie that I'll probably get played by Tori Spelling in the movie, and then they pay it off. It's so good. Yeah. It is so good.
And they got like the actors they got to play everybody. It was just hilarious. Like they got I guess it wasn't funny. Like Heather Graham playing Drew Barrymore is not like funny, but whatever. But like Luke Wilson playing Billy with like the hair, and he just looks like a middle-aged man in this high school. It was so funny.
It's so good. Yeah, those movies are like really funny. That's the thing. I guess this like fifth one, that's another thing that it didn't really take from the previous ones. I don't remember this fifth one being all that like humorous. There's some witty banter between the kids, I guess, but like not as much like showy, just like one-liners as those previous movies.
Also, it feels less like I don't know, researched is the word, but like in the Scream ones, everything's kind of like they know what they're talking about, especially when it comes to the horror movies. But like in the fifth one, where they're also talking about horror movies, it just sounds like they Googled reviews. Like the one girl mispronounces Babadook in the movie, like, but she's supposed to be like this like horror enthusiast, and I forget what kind of movie she calls it, but it wasn't even what she said it was. Like, it was such a weird...
They kept using the term, like, elevated horror.
Right, and,
like... They were trying to describe
it was,
that.
like, really pretentious. Like they tried to recreate Hannah Hidden Pantier's, the cheerleader, Save the World girl's character from 4, where she, like, loves horror movies. But in that, she comes across as a fan of horror movies, and she knows a lot. In this, when they try to do that same thing with this other character, they just sound like snobs.
Kirby Reed, I just looked up her because I had a little in my research. There's an interesting Easter egg in this most recent one, in Scream 5. There's a scene where I think they're watching Stab 8 on YouTube, and on the side panel with like suggested other videos and stuff, there's a video that says interview with Woodsboro survivor Kirby Reed. So the speculation is that she will be back in the 6th movie. So
that'd be cool. She was actually a pretty cool character, I thought. So
I think from what I was reading, there's like speculation that because she decided to like quit acting for a little while. I think she's like started a family and stuff like that. So she was, I think, supposed to just like straight up survive in the 4th one and be in the 5th or any subsequent ones. But like she decided to no longer act, for a while and stuff, and maybe she's getting back into it. So
right, and it would replace the whole left by Neve Campbell if they could take because so much of Scream is you're a survivor, everybody's obsessed with you. They could easily pass that to the Kirby's character that she survived this newest one, especially when the implication from the end of number 4 is that it's like this huge story, like huge, because like all those news stories are talking about, because they still think what's her name's like a hero. So the one of the only 2 survivors would probably be a big news. So.
Right. Also on that YouTube like suggested thing, there's a conspiracy theory Stu Macher is still alive, and people have taken that with like the rewrites on Scream 3 to say like he could come back. And I guess Matthew Lillard has been like really heavy on Twitter, just like needling people and saying like it could happen. So that'd be fun.
He's great. It would be cool, but it would take a lot of retconning because they mention him being dead a few times through the movies.
Yeah,
like they talk about the 2 original killers were killed. They were killed. Like, and then even at the end of the 4th one, where she's like, you forgot one thing, like. He's dead. Like Billy kills Stu. In fact, like if you get a TV smashed on his head, he was gonna die.
Yeah, he was
from bleeding out.
And stuff, right?
We watched the shows also, and I want to say when we first started watching it, and I learned, there's 3 seasons, and we're watching the first season. it's not Ghostface Killer, but it's literally the same kind of story where this brutal mass high school murder happened. There's a survivor that the survivor is followed now years later. And I thought that, like, ooh, that would be really, like, you can just kind of do that over and over again with different people and different killers, and it's just mass killers. I thought that was really interesting. They didn't go that route. It got real weird. But going forward without having Nev Campbell, I think you can just do that.
Right.
You don't have to. I mean, I don't really like Sydney Prescott. She's kind of...
No, she's not like likable, and she's just, I don't know. She's just like a fixture of like Survivor who isn't. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
That is a fact. You're right. That is what it is. However, like, she's like uneventful. She's I could do without her. I don't know. I just like she's forgettable. I don't really remember any scenes with her. She's not the important part of any of the movies, even though she like factually technically is the center of all of them. She's who is Sydney Prescott? What is Sydney Prescott? Where is Sydney Prescott? That's how I feel about her.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. I think the thing with her is she's kind of had a full arc. I've enjoyed her arc. I think I kind of agree with, like, I could kind of take her, leave her as a character. I feel like she's not Ellen Ripley or something like that. Like, I think, like, Ellen Ripley's cooler. But, like, Sydney Prescott has had, like, a full arc. I like in the middle movies, like, her, like, kind of survivor's guilt and stuff like that, and dealing with, like, she goes and does the like, helpline and stuff like that. And I feel like she's kind of gotten over. And then in the later movies, now she's like this badass. She's like, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm just, I carry a gun and I'm gonna, like...
I guess that's how I'm supposed to feel. But when she says that, like, of course I have a gun. I'm Nev Campbell. I was like, bitch, I watched you walk away from guns being chased by murderers. What?
Right. It'd be weird if she said, I'm Nev Campbell in the movie.
Right. This is Scream.
But yeah, but I think, like, her plot line, her plot, like, has kind of come full circle, and she, like, I want her to get paid, and I you know, if they can make it make sense to, like, make her be in that 6th movie or something, I want that to happen. But yeah, I think I agree with you that she's not, like, needed.
Right, and I don't think none of the other franchises, like, beyond the Killer, keeps the same main characters. Like, even Halloween, which revolves around
Jamie Lee.
Yeah, like, no one. I don't like Jamie Lee in Halloween. She looks ridiculous in this new one. Like the only people excited about, like, oh, it's finally the 4th face down between Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Myers are, like, people who watched the original one. I don't when it came out. But like she's not even in most of the Halloween movies,
right?
Like, imagine if they kept bringing her back, like, for, like, the 10 Halloween movies they've made, or if Nancy was in all of the Freddy Krueger movies. Or
it's funny you mentioned Halloween. That I was just listening to a podcast about it, and initially when they, like, Halloween 1 and 2 were pretty big hits. They did very well. But they envisioned Halloween becoming an anthology series of just, like, Michael Myers would be the killer in, like, the first one, and then all of the subsequent movies were going to just be, like, other, like, whether they be supernatural or other slashers or whatever else, and you'd have just Halloween, and you'd go and see a Halloween movie, but it would just be a different, like, American Horror Story-esque, but, like, for theaters. So way back in the 70s, that's what they were envisioning that series was going to be. And it's funny, I think both of you guys made a point, like, Scream could probably become that. I think that series, like, had some, like, the 2nd season of that series had some really good ideas, and, like, it could have really kept going, whether that same, like, plot line, because it never really wrapped it up, or just making it like an anthology series. But it unfortunately, the 3rd season was pretty bad, and it died.
But they kind of did do that.
They did, yeah.
So Aaron, you haven't watched any of it. The first 2 seasons are the same people. They go on. And then it ends very cliffhanger. Like, oh, the killer is dead, but somebody went and killed him in jail cell. So what the fuck? Who did that? And then it's a whole different group of kids in season 3. And you're like, what the fuck? What just happened?
I actually kind of like that. Because what's cool about the movies is they invite you. Because normally when you try to figure out who did stuff, it's sort like, and like if you're watching some more movie where you don't know who the killer is, it's sort of bad form to go about using meta clues as opposed to story clues. But I feel like Scream, it's almost like you use the meta as much as you want. Try to figure out who it would be using the rules of horror movies. And I think that'd be cool in a TV show where, like, if it's well written enough, like you're not going to be able to figure it out. Like, and then when you get to the end, it's like Scream 3. Of course, she's got a hidden brother who hates her. That kind of stuff. So, no, I think I agree. They really missed an opportunity. I think that show, for how it was marketed, the studio it was in, the channel it was on, I don't think it really ever stood a chance of being good horror, as opposed to a show for what looked like teenagers.
That's exactly what it is.
And that's a lot of how the 5th one comes across to me. I like it, but it's like they're like, oh, old fans of Scream already like Scream. Let's draw in these kids.
These kids like 35-year-old Eric Fisher.
Yeah. I thought about when you were talking about the kids in Scream 5, like sitting around talking about scary movies and stuff. It's very Gen Z, maybe. Right. Maybe that's why we're a little like fuckers. Those young kids. They don't know what they're talking about.
It just kind of reminded me of Bodies a little bit, and that is super Gen Z horror. And I don't know. I think I think I'm vibing with Gen Z. That's what they say, right? Vibing. That's the thing.
I don't think that they do, but I'm cool with it.
No, I think I like just those 2 movies kind of back to back in my mind. Kind of work for me or whatever. In that.
The remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre is kind of like that as well.
Is it any good? I heard it was not great.
It's okay. So half the movie, it's clearly slanted towards conservative people. The movie it is, because it's all these woke, what looks to be teenagers in early 20s moving to a dead town in Texas to start some weird utopia of woke people. And this guy who originally seems sort of pseudo-racist that they all freak out at turns out later to be the one to save them because he carries a gun. And they don't have guns because they're leftists. And that's kind of how the whole movie carries on. So if you ignore that aspect of like where they're trying to be like, see, not all conservatives are douchebags kind of thing, which, whatever, maybe they are. But it kind of carries on like that, where all these people, because they're leftists, because they grew up in cities, because their main focus is art or equality, that they're unable to survive harsh situations. And that's kind of how that movie goes.
I mean, in the movie's defense, I also care about the arts and equality, and I think I would do very poorly in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I think
well, it's like they show up and they're trying to like kick this old person out of their house, and because like, oh, we bought all the buildings over here, but it turns out they didn't get that one, and so now they're the ones who are doing it, and the guy killing them is like the Leatherface in this one. He's related to the person they're kicking out, so in a little bit he's like he's kind of justified, right?
Gotcha.
But it's not a bad movie. It's just social commentary, and anything, whether I agree with it or not, bothers me. Like, especially if it's really heavy-handed, and it's heavy-handed, and added to the fact that I don't agree with it, so I just like it less.
feel you. Yeah, I remember actually now that you mentioned it in a previous episode because you used the term woketopia, and
Yeah.
I fell in love with that term. Any last thoughts about the Scream franchise? I think my last thought is that, like, just looking at it compared to other horror franchises or even just other franchises in general, I think it's one of the like most consistently enjoyable kind of franchises. Like comparing it to like Alien as an example, a franchise that I really love a couple of the entries and stuff, but is like has some real peaks and valleys. Like I feel like Scream has like further, like it's more down the middle in a sense. So that's my like big takeaway from like rewatching all of them and everything else. I'm like, these are just like consistently fun watches. Like I really enjoyed myself.
They really stand out compared to other horror franchises.
Yeah, I like they're fun to watch is what's good. They're not at no point are you like scared, like so I guess that would be the only detraction. They're fun and they're meant to be fun. I don't think anybody watches them like to actually be upset, like, oh no, there's a killer. Like you expect the killer everywhere the killer shows up. Like it's never surprising. So I think they're fun movies. I think they aim for a mark of commenting on something in horror or trying to show you something, and then they do it, which is good because a lot of horror movies miss the mark, and much like later Halloween, Leprechaun, Friday the 13th, it just comes about kills, like how they do the kills, and the story is just kind of put there as to facilitate showing you kills. So I think Scream's sort of the reverse of that, and that's why it's a lot more fun to watch.
What's our next franchise, Kayla, that we're just gonna power through in like 3 sittings?
I've been trying to watch all of the Nightmare on Elm Streets. I watched the first, I think, 3. Johnny Depp looks so young in that first one.
Yeah, he does.
It's a baby.
It doesn't even look like him almost.
Well, not what he looks like now. Like I just saw a meme like Johnny Depp looks like your cool aunt from who gave you beer the first time. Like it's like, yeah, he kind of does.
I agree with that. He's scary.
He leaned hard into the pirate thing.
He really did.
I try watching that, and then I don't know. I get 2 phases where I focus on stuff, so I try to like. I'm like, I'm gonna just watch all of this. And I get 3/4 of the way in. I'm like, I'm just gonna watch something else. I don't know.
Is the third one Dream Warriors? Is that the third Nightmare? Oh, yeah. I dig that one. I would like to rewatch that one. I remember really liking it. I caught it on like I think it was AMC used to do those like through the whole month of Halloween. They would just show nothing but horror movies, and I think I caught it on that. It's like this is cool. This is for me.
Yeah. There's tons of good things right now on I don't know if you guys have Shudder or Tubi. Tubi's free and has probably the best lineup of horror movies right now. Okay. Especially if you don't mind indie ones.
Oh, I don't mind.
But they've got like the best lineup, like Horror in the High Desert, Dead Streaming. Oh my god, it's like found footage of this YouTuber who goes into a haunted house and like locks himself in there to like prove a point, and it's just so funny and so well done. Like it's just good, and it's obviously low budget. There's 2 characters in the whole thing, and the whole time he's doing it, he's got like he's live streaming it, so you can see like the comments popping up, and the comments are hilarious. Like they're like, go back there, check out that ghost, and like he's being like murdered, and they're just cracking jokes. Like it's really good.
We're in a hard place where spooky season's not over yet, but we don't have much time. I don't know what franchise to dive into with a week left. That's worth some thought.
We went too hard on Scream, I think. Yeah.
Huh?
Are there any more major franchises either of you haven't like seen?
Like all of them, Aaron.
Oh, you haven't seen all of them. Like Leprechaun.
I mean, you know, I've seen a lot of them are kind of, older. And I know I've seen them when I was younger, at least some of them here and there. Probably fell asleep during them,
I don't know if I've personally ever watched the Friday the 13th movies. I think I've seen the first one, like front to back, but like, and I've seen like Freddy versus Jason, and I think I saw Jason X, the one where he's in space as well.
I think I've seen all the ones you've named.
But
like in 2015, hockey was made illegal,
right? But like the more classic ones or whatever, like even like Jason Goes to Hell, I think was one that like had come on and I watched a little bit of it, but didn't really jive with it at that time and stuff. So yeah, I think that's a franchise that I've never really checked out myself, but I don't know if that'll be the next one. I think we've seen like this movie. I mean, we talked about it just last episode or the episode before. Like this has been a really good year for horror. So, and we've been lucky enough to like Scream was on our back burner, but we got to see Scream 5. But yeah, bodies, Barbarian. Don't Worry, Darling, horror-esque. Just like we just been really powering through them, and been a great year for that. And
Midsommar is not from this year, but that's another one I haven't watched that I would watch.
Yeah, we could do the like Ari Aster 3, right? Like Hereditary, Midsommar, and The Witch, right? Those are all
right. That's what I was thinking. I have not seen any of those movies.
Yeah,
Witch is amazing. I have a tattoo from The Witch.
I know you do. I only know that movie because of you, but I've never seen it.
Maybe I'll like it the second time.
It's so good. It's a real slow burn. You have to, if you're not somebody who likes, it's. I don't know, because I've said it before. So most of the time you watch a witch hunt movie, because that's what it is. Obviously, it's called The Witch, and it's usually is the witch really real? And mostly it's a story of misogyny and hating anything associated with the feminine realm and all that stuff. And those are good stories. Those are stories that need to be told. But The Witch, the opening scene shows you that a witch does exist and is doing this to them. So it becomes more, who is it? And it's just like so atmospheric and so well done, and it's just like slowly terrifying. Now, people who like watching people getting stabbed, like, and that's what's scary for them. That they're not always fans. That's why you'll see a lot of people say the movie's boring, but it's so good.
But I also really hate like possession. Like that's the shit that like really creeps me out. Like body possession, movement stuff. So gross.
Yeah, Megan hates that stuff too. We never watch exorcism movies really. Well, I watch them by myself. I'm really excited to see what's that one? The new one that's coming out.
The new one
Pray
coming
for
out.
the Devil. Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to see that. But she won't watch those movies with me. She doesn't like them. But there's none of that in The Witch. That's not what The Witch is. The Witch is all about like a baby got kidnapped. Because if you know the lore of witches, their brooms are made to fly because they make like a salve to rub on the broom that's made out of baby fat. So like that's what you see happening. That's why you know the witch exists. So it's just so good. And just like when I saw the previews and they do that thing where she's playing peekaboo with the baby and then she does it and she looks down, the baby's gone. Like I'm like, I have to see this movie. And it didn't disappoint.
I said The Witch was an Ari Aster. It's definitely a Robert Eggers movie. I don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't have anything. I don't think it has anything to do with Midsommar or Hereditary. But I don't know enough about that side of movies to.
It's that elevated horror, you know. It's just the
the elevated horror.
Elevated horror. Babadook, you know.
Saying with elevated horror, they mean I think they're trying to say like movies that have no camp. Like they're not campy at all, but like the Babadook, like it's such a weird one to call that. The Babadook's good, but and The Witch is good. I just wouldn't call. I don't know if I'd call them like elevated. It makes it sound like there's some pretentious like like Shakespeare wrote these, and
Ugh.
like it's like high literature. It's not. They're still scary movies. They're just. It's just not a dude in a mask stabbing people.
Well, now that you've given away the secret of the witch,
Oh, sorry,
that
yeah.
it's not a dude stabbing people, I don't even think Ayla's gonna watch it. But
I may even watch it tonight. I love that movie. Megan loves that movie. We're a household that loves Anya Taylor-Joy, and I think that was her first big thing. And
nice.
We'll see.
We'll
Maybe
see.
this will seal the deal for me and Anya Taylor-Joy, because I'm not buying season tickets to that.
Ah, God.
It seems like more and more we've
Hold
gotten
until I
away.
die.
We've gotten away from mentioning Seinfeld on every episode and gotten to mentioning Anya Taylor-Joy in every episode. So I think that's our new meta is the Anya Taylor-Joy meta. So
You think we can get her on the show?
I'll reach out. I mean, we might have the same agent, so
Oh, okay.
I gotta look at the directory on our website. So we'll see.
You ever seen that list where she's put on this list of successful like actors or women of color?
Oh no!
Just because she's like technically like Spanish or something, she's had to say like white Hispanic people do exist, and like,
Oh, boy.
it's really funny. But
Oh, good old. She's probably she's my favorite actor of color, definitely.
right.
Gosh,
The big eyes and the blonde hair is what I associate with women of color. You know?
goodness. I knew that's where our Scream conversation would go. Honestly, I just kind of figured that's where our conversation would go.
I was looking for it. I was trying to tie her into the movies. I mean, she's probably going to be in 6. I can see her being in 6.
Man, that would be if we somehow predicted that in this stupid conversation. That would be just.
I would
wonderful.
love if she's not in the movie at all, but at the end they take off the mask and it's just Anya Taylor-Joy and like, what the fuck? Like, you really didn't expect
She ain't doing none of that physical activity, let me tell you that. She
Stab
ain't
9.
taking me down.
Oh God, I want this to be canon now.
I'm sorry, you said.
That'd be so wonderful.
Her body will break trying to jump into anything.
That's what I thought about, like, so there are times where there's the killer is Macaulay Culkin's brother, and times where it's what's her name's niece, right? That's who she is.
Yeah.
Like the times where it's her, like these grown men can't fight a very small teenage girl.
She's tiny.
Like if somebody who is like 5'3" comes at me with a knife, I'm like, okay, I guess we're fighting now. Like, I'm a cameraman. I don't know, but
it's because you're not into art and equality, you know?
Right, it's what I am. Like, it's so weird that, like, you're supposed to buy, like, I get if she sets it up, or she occasionally does, like, but for their timeline to have worked, she's had to do some shit, like, throw people through windows, and, like, I don't know. Like, sometimes...
You were even gracious. She's only 5'2".
Holy
God.
Jesus. Wow.
Yeah, she's, like, skinny.
Oh, she's tiny. Yeah.
And keep in mind, the actor herself is probably in her 20s at that point, right? But
Probably,
like,
yeah.
imagine it's like actually like a 17-year-old girl.
Right.
like okay,
She's
like
crazy though. She's batshit crazy.
Right. Oh, one thing I meant to say, I'm sorry, I was like towards the end, but like for the fourth one, like it's such a shitty plot device to be like right when she's like about to kill MaKulkin, whatever. He's like, I worked on the timeline. It all works out. Don't fucking say that. How many people did you say was killed in that? 9, 11? Like, you're telling me that every time he went to kill one of those 11 people, they made sure the guy they were pinning it on didn't have an alibi? Like, this is a dude who's like a popular high school jock. He's never around another person during that month you're killing people. That was such a shitty plot device for her to be like, is it gonna work out? Yeah, totally. Stab. Like, okay, that's the movie.
Oh, My favorite thing is you calling Rory Culkin like 7 different things on this episode. Most recently, MaKulkin.
I can't remember. I keep forgetting his first name.
It's McLovin, but McCulkin is just one name. It's beautiful. That's my favorite thing. Oh gosh. Oh wow. Good old McCulkin. I got an episode title for you guys. Gosh, so is that a wrap on our Scream talk? Is there anything else?
Yeah,
Do we wrap with McCulkin? Oh, that's good. Good stuff. So Scream 5 probably still in theaters. Go check it out on Paramount Plus as well. I really enjoyed it. But that completes our Scream talk. And also that completes episode 99 of the Machine of Nonsense. We've got 99 of these, not counting bonus episodes and stuff. And what that means is our next episode is episode 100, folks. I'm not gonna lock it in right now because there's still some logistics here, but tentatively speaking, next Wednesday, which is October 26th, right? Is it? Do I got that date right?
Yeah.
Okay. Around 6 p.m. Pencil this in, folks. We're going to try to do a live episode of episode 100 of the Machine of Nonsense. Have a live episode, stream it to Twitch and Facebook, and we're going to play some Jackbox games. And we'll structure it like an episode. We'll have a little catch up. We'll have some fun. We'll yuck it up. But we hope you can be there. I'll send out an event invite if it goes through to remind you guys. But we've loved to make these episodes. I have, at least. I think everyone else has enjoyed it well enough. So that's going to be a big thank you to everyone type of episode. I want to recap, how much we've done in 100 episodes. So be looking for that. We're going to have some fun. We're going to make some jokes, play some games, and do it all live. So it'll probably be chaotic and crazy, and we'll have a lot of screw ups, and it'll be fun.
Just like 100 should be.
Exactly. Before then, how about you hit us up on any number of channels? We got an email address, machineofnonsense@gmail.com. You can leave us a voicemail, anchor.fm/machineofnonsense for that one. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Just search Machine of Nonsense on any of those. We come right up. We got a YouTube channel. We will be posting tomorrow the second episode of Grounded for Life, our playthrough. Myself, Kayla, and Mike, we're playing through the game Grounded, and we're having a lot of fun. We built a fucking wall last time.
Oh yeah, we did. Fuck them spiders.
Oh yeah, fuck them. If you don't want to watch that 2 hours of gameplay, it ends up with us building a wall. So there you go. Spoilers for Grounded for Life episode 2. That'll be hitting tomorrow. That's the 24th of October. But if you're listening to this, it's probably already that date. So go check out YouTube for that. That's it. Episode 99 is in the books. We talked Scream. We talked Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Anya Taylor-Joy. Basically, the staples of the Machine of Nonsense. We're getting out of here. And we're saying, free Nevcan.
Nice payer. God damn. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I wonder why they're going so hard. Like, they're like, oh, well, Resident Evil's doing all this stuff. We can do it too.
That is 100% why they're doing it.
Right. And then, also if they, I think the main complaint about, that show and stuff is that it was all kind of spun out of whole cloth, isn't really related to the larger world. If they stick to the actual mythos of Silent Hill, I think they'll get a lot more fan involvement than Resident Evil's had.
Save it for the pod.
we'll do it right now.
Yeah.
Let's go.